This is the Project Upland podcast presented by Onyx Hunt. I'm your host, Nick Larson. On this episode of the show, we talk Italian shotguns with Wes Lang, Giorgio Guerini, and special guest Gregg Elliott. Welcome to the show for episode number 91.
Yeah. And that's a decent segue. It's something I don't want to overlook about the conversation that we're having, and Greg and I want to talk about some specific guns and stuff. But before we do, I want to talk about a little bit about what makes a Caesar Guerini a Caesar Guerini. We've touched on it a lot in our conversation up to this point. But when I look at a Caesar Guerini, I see there are a few things that stand out. And again, I'm referring to a lot of times I'm seeing ads in magazines, or a friend of mine that I grouse hunt with has a Caesar Guerini, and I seem to always see stunning wood. You see beautiful engraving. You see these fine details that me personally, have associated with what I see as a beautiful gun, and that's what catches my eye. But underneath all of that, that's all intentional. That's all important. Underneath that is a very intentionally designed and developed gun, and it's, again, going back to this. Caesar Guerini is a modern company in the sense that you use very advanced technology to develop these guns that have very little tolerances in parts that wear and the pieces that need to come together for very specific reasons. I'd like to talk about that a little bit.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for what you're doing, because you guys do build beautiful guns.
I really appreciate.
The luxury and to some degree advantage we have being a new company, is that most of the factories in certainly our category, not just in Italy, but whoever's still making double guns around the world, are factories that were started more than 50, 60 years ago. And when you know, as anyone that's built a house or owned a house, you build a house or a building 60, 70, 80 years old, and you wire it and you plumb it and you put the roof on it and you buy, the fridge and the equipment you put inside of it. Sooner or later, that stuff gets a little threadbare and worn, right? And then it's this process of constantly trying to upgrade, and you never come in and rip out all the wiring, all the plumbing, reinforce the structure, put on a new roof, put on a new exterior, and replace every piece of mechanical on the inside at one time. So you can never have this blank sheet of paper. The only time you can do that is if you hire your contractor and build your house from brand new.
Yep.
Okay? Everything's going to be the state of the art. I'm going to have the best HVAC system. I'm going to have the best, quality materials, the best windows, blah, 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 right down the line. And that's costly. It's more costly than a remodeling. But the cool thing is, at that point in time, we'll have the brand new best, slickest stuff of everything, and that's essentially the way we had to start by definition. We didn't buy a company. We started literally from nothing. Just, hey, you want to start a gun company today? We're stupid enough to try that. So, and in the beginning of a small company, you have to start, begging, borrowing, doing whatever you can, just through ingenuity to get going and get rolling, and certainly relying on the good graces of people around you to help you. And but as you get rolling and you start to build a new factory building and populate it with all brand new equipment, which we have done extensively now. The Guerini factory has just an amazing complement of CNC machines, and all of them are. We didn't build the factory until what year, Giorgio? 2010. No, what year did we build the? Anyhow, it doesn't matter.
So in 2006.
6 for the building. Okay, so the building was just finished in 2006.
Yep.
We didn't say, okay, now let's write a check for all the stuff inside. We piece by piece we were putting pieces in, and so with the oldest piece of equipment
we
have.
bought another part in 2010. You're right.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, all the equipment we have can't be older than 10 years, really, generally.
Yep.
Right? So it's all pretty modern. Most of it is. We have 2 big components that are probably a week and a half old now.
Yep.
So what it leaves us with is really, as far as the equipment's capabilities state of the art, and the rest of it. And Giorgio's one of his favorite statements is that anybody can buy the equipment. You can buy the equipment, and guys in Turkey can buy the equipment. They do gun manufacturing. Sure. You can buy the equipment in China. You can do whatever. The equipment is equipment. It can make a widget. It can make a gun. It's all in the passion and the knowing what makes a real gun or the right gun, and having the passion to just keep driving to get there. And that's been our advantage, that we have the clean sheet of paper. Probably the hardest route you can go, but also the most advantageous once you've gotten there.
Yep.
What do you think is the biggest advantage your guns offer shooters?
Well, that's a really broad question, right? Because we do so many things, and we do so many places. But what you're asking me to do is take everything and distill it down into some very general concepts of what do we give, right? And I think one of the premises, and the reason I tell people I like all guns, even if it's a $150 gun or it's a $100,000 gun, I really see the benefit in all of them. And there's all price points for all people and all levels of engagement in a sport, right? So they're all good. It's more about what you give in value, right? Mm-hmm. So in my mind, it could be ludicrous to say, a $5,000 shotgun is a hell of a value. But it depends on what you're getting, yep. Right? Yep. And for us, what we always strive to do is, so many companies today are looking to cut costs so they can give you a cheaper gun and sell them in the big box stores and whatever they're doing. How can we remove some costs so we can make it for you cheaper? What we're trying to do, or the way we perceive things in our perspective, and how we're completely different from all those companies that participate in that kind of marketplace, is that when we look at a problem with a product, we say not what we can cut out of it in cost, but what could we add to it to make it that much better for around the same cost. So we go in the opposite direction. So if I had a product, and I know this is kind of a long answer, but it's getting to the heart of it, right? So yep. If I have a product that's a standard gun and it's just not selling well enough because people are not, they look at it and say maybe it's not worth that money, or it doesn't have the features I want, or whatever. We look at it and say, all right, what do we have to do better? How can we make it, shoot better, look better, do whatever, feel better? What do we have to do to make it better so that the value at that price point is there and now it's a marketable product? By going that route, we're always making our guns better, better, better. The last thing on the table that we discuss is cost. We start with the premise of what makes the gun better first, right? So, you got to temper that with not being a lunatic, but you say, can't make it out of unobtainium, but what we try to do is say, what makes the best sporting gun that we're going to be able to make today? And we do this and that. We make lots of changes even nobody's requesting, just because we think it's going to be cooler to have, this little detail or that little detail. And by doing that and continuing working in that direction, it doesn't make us the cheapest product on the market, but there's a tremendous amount of value in that product at that price point, and the end benefit for us is every year our guns get better.